Now, continuing in this video, we're going to go over React State. When you're building a user interface with React, you'll want to keep track for any certain interactions or updates within the component's life. We can store data within state. In this video, we are going to create a counter. We will click a button and it will update the count by 1, and that count will be stored within state. Now, state can be used for other things, such as a drop-down box. Whether a drop-down box is open or closed is state, and is something that should be and would be stored within a component's state. Now, for this example, we're just going to get rid of our dumb component that we created previously, and we are going to go back to our original app component. And in here, what we want to do is just create another method function called constructor. In constructor, because we're using a class in ES 2015, we can inherit from our React component, and we want to call super because we want to invoke everything that happens within the React component. If we just create an object here called this.state, and inside this object we will just pass a count of 0, and we will output that count to the page. We will just prefix it here nicely so we can see exactly what is what. And if we do this.state and then the name of our state property, which is count, we will see the count is 0. If I update this to 1, 2, 3, 4, you get the idea. That changes and works correctly. Now we can get rid of title and age in this example. It is not required and not used. So, what's next? We need to add a button to this page that is going to increment this number by 1 on click. So let's first of all create our button. Now I'm going to remove our h1 for now and just going to place this inside of some paragraph tags. And now we are going to create a button which on click we'll call a method. Now this method is in the app component, and I like to call and name my functions with an underscore so it's easy to see what is a React component, a lifecycle method, or what is something that I have written. And we can see here that underscore increment count is very easy to see what is what. And if we just add some text to this button, increment, close the button, adds to the page, you'll see we've got a button here. Now when we click this button, it's calling this function, but this function doesn't exist, so it fails silently. So let's create our function increment count. And what we want to do here is we do not want to do this. We don't want to do this state count equals this state dot count plus 1. That's a very bad way of manipulating state. React actually has a method called setState, and it's something you should use. This will then only update and invoke DOM changes where and when required, and this is highly recommend. But what we want to do here is this state.count plus 1, exactly what we had before, but we're passing it through our setState method. Now, very simple, with that added to our app component, when we click increment, you will see our number is going to increase. Very simple. React component. Let's just go over exactly what we have and what is going on. We've created an app component, and within here we have a constructor method. This constructor method sets some initial state, count as 0. We can change this to 5, and on click we'll update from that state. We have a method called increment count, which is called every time our button is pressed. We then invoke this method called setState, which is a React method, and should be used to update any of the state above. So we are just incrementing our state count by 1 on click. Then we are rendering. Render is a required method by the React component and must return some JSX wrapped inside of a tag. Now this could be a paragraph tag, it could be anything, it just needs to be inside one tag to render correctly. Then we have our count and a button. On click, again, we'll call this method. And that is mounted to the page using React DOM. Here. Very simple to get started with React State, and it's something I encourage you to look into. Another example here, we could add another method to decrease the amount. So let's just change this very quickly. And what we will do is just add another button, and we will call count and update that text there, and put in here we'll want to -1. Let's set our original state back to 0, and if we add some numbers we can remove them as well. Increment, done.